this.
Well, not as far as the auto trade, but we
Well,
have a little technical difficulty.
This is NASDAQ, and we're all doing it. We're here and we're doing it.
And one other thing about the room, we apparently do not have a microphone, so people come up here where we're going to want you to use your outdoor voices when you hear us in.
I have this, and it comes
So
with
let's
a
get started.
Okay,
The earliest
probably.
known
What
Detroit
we need
organization
more
goes
than
back to
anything
the
is
late
sound, but if
1930s.
we have
It was
video
the
too, that
Detroit
would be terrific.
Science Fictioneers,
This is
which
running.
existed at
Okay.
the
It'll
end
have
of
some
the
sound.
30s.
Will.
And really, we don't know a
That gives us
huge
some
amount
time to
about
come up with a
them.
better solution.
Do you want to put it so it sort of
In the early
looks...
I will
40s,
try.
we know a little more because those fans were fan publishers. Their fanzine record that they left behind is fairly exotic and complete. In the 40s, a group of fans settled in a house in Battle Creek that became called the Slam Shack. That was the creation of a name that's been used since any time a group of fans set up housing together and made a lot of trouble.
There were some famous people who were part of that domicile. It was the name of the group. They took the name the Galactic Roamers. The centerpiece of whom was Dr. E. Smith. He was an industrial chemist at Dawn Donut in Jackson, Michigan, until the war came along, at which time he took a position with the government of LaPorte, Indiana ordnance plant, it says here, where he worked with explosives. He came back to Michigan on occasion for a series of conventions that were called Michifandom. There were 5 of them, 1941 through 1945. Some of these were pretty well run.
As best we can tell from the record, they were all held at the Slam Shack in Battle Creek.
But the Slam Shack itself, there was probably 5 or 10 people there, only 5 or 6 or 7 which were full-time. Al and Abby Lou Ashley were the ones who, I guess, were the owner of the apartment. But some of the others who were there included Frank Robinson, the late Frank Robinson, who was probably the last surviving, thank you very much, the last surviving resident of the Slam Shack. Bob Tucker was there from time to time.
Yeah, I think he just came over to visit, although when Tucker visits, he hangs out.
He did that a lot.
Yeah.
Frank Robinson passed away a couple weeks ago.
He did indeed. He is missed.
Del Koger, historian and co-member of the cult with me and a bunch of other strange people, lived there. A whole bunch of people who went on to Los Angeles and founded another Slam Shack out there were among the founders.
Mm-hmm.
And they caused more trouble in Los Angeles, but that's off topic for us today.
This had, we have an audio recorder, thank you very much. This took us through the mid-40s. Another thing that happened in the mid-40s was the start of the Detroit band, the Detroit Hyperborean Society, is that pronounced that correctly?
I don't know.
Hyperborean Society, which existed in the war years in the middle of the decades until the late 40s. And this brought us to the golden age of Detroit band, because one of the things that happened in the late 40s was a schism. And at this point, maybe it's time to bring a few people up here.
Yeah. Would you like to come up front, people who can talk about the 40s?
Late 40s
Roger.
and early 50s.
That would be
Roger.
Fred and
Yeah.
Roger
Fred,
and
you want to come
Dean?
too? You said you joined Roger in '53. You might as well go up here now.
Yeah, and you guys were telling me about Detroit Science Fiction League and how they joined the Grimsback and then changed it into the Misfits. You were telling me that last night.
That's right. The Misfits were the Michigan Science Fantasy Society.
Scientifiction.
All right, that's different than what we have.
Alice Durham's nickname was the Misfits. That was very much good for, as far as I can remember, Michigan
Now,
theaters of science fiction incorporated.
now, how it came into existence is a story in itself. It involved something that happened with a legendary fan named Art Rapp, and at this point I'll turn it over to Roger and to Fred to describe it.
And I joined the club in October of 1949. Shortly before I joined, there was a meeting at Art Rapp's house. And at the conclusion of the meeting, a little-known named band, Eugene Seeger, had made a gigantic firecracker out of a smaller one, which he put on Art Rapp's lawn and lit it. It went out, he relit it, it went off, and it blew in one of Art Rapp's windows. And the police showed up, fire engine showed up, and Art Rapp quit the club. And that's where we became the Detroit Science Fiction League. There were a number of publications back and forth as a result of this. One was called, which I have a copy of right here, Passion in the Parlor. Behind the scenes of at a DSFL meeting. Passion in the Parlor.
Describe the cover there.
We have a young lady in underwear.
All right, you gotta hold that up, Roger.
There's a song, which I never and you're down in old Detroit on a rainy Friday night, and you can't think of a gal or whom to call. If you've got a bit addiction or a bit of science fiction, and you want to see some inlays on the wall, if the roar of rockets get you, and the lack of beams upset you, if you like to watch Forgetfulness in Bloom, just call Edith, George, or Ben. They will come and get you, and you'll find them then all gathered in one room. For it's a DSFL, a little bit of hell, and it's populated by the printed hands. They will bore you with the speeches, the dirty sons of bitches, so you might as well go up along this land.
Was this ever actually sung, or was it just printed in the fanzine?
I think it was just printed in the fanzine.
Thank goodness.
Now, the thing we hear about was always the bomb. There must have been some other other pranks and stuff like that that happened that were worth mentioning as well.
Well, I would like to make the Howard DeVore Memorial Pass at a woman. Hey, sweetie, want to come back to my room? I'm a registered proctologist. Here, got my card.
Here we go.
How old were you guys then, Howard? Teddy is ghosting from the audience there. How old were you guys, Roger?
I was 19.
19.
Repeat, please. George was 19 years old. Ben Singer was 19. Al Farrell was 19.
What about our rap?
They met at Cass Technical High School. And then from that they formed the club.
Now, Ben Singer is described as Detroit's perhaps most infamous or famous band, depending on which you would look at it.
He became a professor of social psychology at Western Ontario University in London, Ontario, where he is now.
There's Ben.
Is he still alive?
As far as I know.
Not after this, he won't be. We have a few things to say about him, I suppose. Ben was involved in 2 or 3 rather unusual and notorious incidents. One of which happened in 1949 to a good, dearly departed friend of ours, Bob Tucker.
Ben killed him off.
Ben killed him off. There was a death hoax.
Actually, Tucker was killed off twice.
Yeah, Ben was the second one. He wasn't even original, I guess. Because Tucker had been killed in the late 30s.
The second one almost got fired from the job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was a movie projectionist at the movie theater in Bloomington.
Yeah, the way it went down, apparently, Singer had spent a weekend with Tucker, and after enjoying the hospitality, he sent word out to Fandom that Tucker had died in a theater fire. Singer related that Tucker had reported for work in a dazed condition because the completed manuscript of a novel had been lost and dozed off while smoking, and a blaze had resulted. And it went from there. I mean, we're still hearing about different versions of this even today, after all the principals are no longer around.
Poker was the game that everybody played, and I can remember Mount Pepper came to Detroit for his movie projection of convention, and he came to the Howard house, and we played poker, and he got that upset with me because I had 5 queens, they had 5 jacks. He was also involved in the poker game when room 770 was involved in
1951.
Yeah.
We'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
Look at that in a minute.
We'll talk about the propeller beanie.
Yes, that's the next thing on our list.
No, I'm sorry, I'm trying to get.
Yeah, that's the.
So Ray Nelson's beanie, talk about
I
that.
thought that Ray Nelson was the first to acquire one, but it might have been when George Young visited
Yes.
Ray. They went to the store and they found one, and George bought it, and he wore it at Worldcon.
Yes, Cadillac, Michigan was the city where George Young purchased the first known helicopter beanie, propeller beanie, during a visit to Ray Nelson.
Ray actually invented it.
Well, we've heard different. I don't know if I ever talked to George about it.
Ray claims to have invented it, even now, he's still alive.
Is Patty here?
I thought she was coming, but I think she hasn't arrived yet. I don't know.
We've been, so Leah and I have been talking about trying to bring Ray to the Midwest to a fan historicon, maybe in a year or so. This is a dream that we'll see if we can realize. And record his stories about the propeller beanie. My understanding from reading that Ray, material that Ray has written, that Ray's son has written about the original beanie, is that he took it off to California. And among the things that happened, besides fan cartoonists loving the symbol of fandom and making it a symbol of fandom, was some guy from a cartoon show later saw the thing, and it became Beanie and Cecil. That could be so.
No, I doubt that.
I think it's probably true.
Well, you guys
That's
want to talk about George, son?
Why?
You want to talk about George?
You don't believe that animator created that?
No, I don't.
Yeah,
One thing, before we get to George, one thing I want to talk to Roger about, this involves a relative of yours, Bennett Sims.
Right.
Now, huh? It's a lie?
Yeah.
He's not your relative?
No.
Now, well, there's some information here that, well, if he says it's a lie, I won't get into it, but supposedly the reason why Roger's relative Bennett is no longer in fandom is because the FBI had visited his father. No?
Visited.
Elucidate.
Punch him in the mouth.
Martin Alger storyboard that he carried around to various conventions. Listed several incidents that never happened. One of them was about Bennett Sims and FBI.
This happened about 1949.
It was pure fan fiction.
Was there any such person as Bennett Sims?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I've seen a photo of him. He does exist. He did exist.
I'm in fandom because of him.
Okay.
So you want to tell?
So we can blame him, okay?
Keep going. I mean, don't drop
so
the air.
tell how he got you into fandom.
Well, I joined the Navy September '48 while I was in the Navy. Bennett